So just like words communicate in a conversation, the elements of art is what an artist uses to communicate through visual graphic art. So the elements of art include line, shape, form, color, value, space, and texture. Did I get them all? Okay. Line. Lines can show a subject's physical appearance or suggest something more than what can be seen.
Color. Choices of color and the relationships between colors have a huge influence on how a piece looks and feels and the emotions it provokes.
Texture. Texture refers to how something feels. There are two types of texture, actual and visual.
Shape. Shapes are two-dimensional. Geometric shapes are perfect and regular. Organic shapes are irregular and natural.
Form. Form refers to three-dimensional objects. While shapes have two dimensions, height and width, forms have three, height, width, and depth.
Space. 3D work creates real space. 2D works can create implied space. Objects take up positive space. Negative space is the empty space around them.
Value. The lightness or darkness of tones or colors. White is the lightest value. Black is the darkest. Let's first consider point of view when we're looking at these three pieces.
Right.
What you want to tell us? What are the three types of?
Okay, we have a bird's eye view.
Okay.
Okay, so we'd be up here. We have a worm's eye view that will put the onlooker down, the viewer down here, and then, as you call it, a street where we're kind of level with it, street level. And those are the three points of view that we'll be looking at.
Yeah, so it's good to consider that when we're looking at work. This, I think, I feel drawn into it, the colors and the stroke marks, but the point of view, what would you say?
I'd say worms.
Yeah, I would agree. Look at where the horizon line is. Is it low in the picture or is it high? That helps tell us. And then that it draws us in and up. And also I mentioned the stroke marks, looking at, because the angle that you and I are looking at it here, we can see those brush marks being brushed up into the clouds. And the light catches that, so the artist is very intentional with that.
Very much.
Yeah, to draw us in and draw us up.
Yeah, and with the wind vanes, also with the propellers on the wind vanes too. Yeah, very much.
And then to contrast that with this, what's it called? The beauty of worship.
The beauty of worship. There you go. Yeah.
I feel a little higher.
Higher, right. We're not way up, but it's like we're on a hill and we're observing, but there's also this being drawn in to the picture, welcomed in.
Right. So which elements is the artist using to draw us in, do you think?
I feel like the lines here and the door is so big, you know, so tall that that's drawing us in.
The horizontal lines at the bottom in contrast to the vertical. I like to look at contrasts to see where the areas of highest contrast is usually where our eyes go to. So this is one of them. You know, you see right here the people going into the building, and then this is the other one for me. Right. So on the cross.
And I think as far as size or shape, I think that there's such a contrast between the size of the people and the building, or the church.
Yeah.
There also, that is. Again, gives that sense of distance.
Does it look like a cold day or a warm day to you?
No, I think it looks pretty warm to me.
What does it look like to you?
Right.
It feels warm, even though it's cool. We would call them cool colors, the blue and the green, but there's warmth there when you put that sidewalk down there. Right. That warm sun on the sidewalk.
And then you have the light. Points of light on the trees, and the way also just the way the sun is shining on this side of the spire, and
just so you know, she's not actually touching the picture.
Oh.
Because that is a no-no in the gallery.
No, I didn't touch it. I didn't touch it.
But contrasting the colors in this and the colors of that, they both feel warm, but the color schemes are very different.
Very different. Very different. Yeah. And what point of view do you think the top one is?
I feel like I'm sitting right in that plaza.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I'm in that scene.
Right.
And I feel the light, you feel the dappled light. It's like that has variance to it. It's coming through those leaves. She seemed to capture that in her painting. This is called Summer's Shadows. So the artist talks about in his little write-up how much he enjoys plein air. So that's painting outside in the space, right? And trying to capture the changing lights, like one of the Impressionists.
Where do you think the light is coming from?
Mm-hmm. And then the contrast of the shadows. So it definitely feels like it's coming from the upper left as I'm looking at it, corner. And a lot of complementary colors in this scheme as well.
Right. You have this deep shadow.
Yes.
Deep shadow down here.
Mm-hmm.
And your light.
Mm-hmm. So you just have the blues and the oranges, opposite side of the color wheel, and the warm, kind of a yellow-green up against these purpley. So this is kind of almost the yellows against the purples. Right. So definitely, I would call it a complementary color scheme. And that adds energy to it.
Yes.
I think. Mm-hmm. Yes. Yeah, I think that's beautiful. So
this is another picture that you think is so interesting.
I think so too. So this
very
is
different.
Hand cast paper. So it looks like, it reminds me of those little ice cube trays. I don't know, the kind of little squares the artist made those in, and then painted them in the different acrylic colors and put them together in a grid. Kind of a pixelated image, isn't it?
Right.
But how different things look when we're close up on it.
Right. The shapes.
Like, this doesn't look like it belongs this bright green and with these darks.
Right.
And they just kind of stand out to me.
Right.
But when we pull back, it all belongs.
Right. And the shapes, everything comes into focus.
Mm-hmm.
The farther back you pull it, and the farther back you stand, and that the shapes are really created. They're not created by a line. You know, we're not drawing a line, but the shapes are created by the colors. Mm-hmm. The different colors put next to one another. I think we talked about, to the Impressionists, it's very impressionistic.
Yes.
Because if you get close to a Monet or the picture kind of dissolves a little bit. You notice the colors and the brush strokes, and as you pull back, then you can see the picture.
So, so in addition to point of view, it's where we're standing in the gallery appreciating the piece.
Right.
We appreciate it differently close up than we do far back, right? So, I think that's fun. Well, we're definitely beach level view here, right?
There you go.
This is a pastel. And again, do you see the color scheme? The opposites of the blue and the orange.
Yes, very complementary colors. Lots of beautiful oranges and yellows that are contrasting with the deep blue shadows in the ocean and some of the deep colors, the shadows in the clouds.
So it's easy for us to look at a beach and that's recognizable to us. But how do we talk about the abstract?
Yeah, here we go.
So we do want to start with the elements. You know, we have to ask ourselves, what lines do you see in this image? Are they straight? Are they curvy? How would you describe the lines?
Well, I think the line and the line that I noticed first are this line right here. It goes this way, and it's angled. It gets you straight, and then it's very geometric. It's very sharp and clear. And then
do you see some organic lines and shapes in there?
You have a lot of this kind of sweeping kind of line right here, curved lines that are kind of a contrast, and yet they follow the direction of this line right here, but they in a different way.
Often with abstracts, I think of either my eye starts to think, is this a landscape or is this a person or a portrait kind of thing? And I don't know why. I think our mind's trying to make sense of it somehow, but if it were a landscape and we were in the picture, where would you like to go? Where would you walk? Where would you want to be?
I would like to be standing right there and looking out that way, behind it, to see what's going on.
I would be crawling right up there and what's over that.
Yeah.
Either that or what's through that. If you saw that as a hole and something on the other side of that,
that's true.
I would be peering through that light as well. So that's the artist, I think. He's drawing us in subtle ways through the color and the line and the shapes. But so there's always something to talk about, even if we don't understand it, right?
Right. Or it's something that we're not, maybe it's not something that we are drawn to.
Yeah.
Immediately.
Right.
But when we think about the elements, then it becomes more interesting. And so that our focus on the picture isn't just what we like or what we don't like.
Right.
That's diffused a little bit. That's okay to have an opinion,
right,
but we're not stuck there.
Right.
We're not stuck
I
there.
think that's the essence of art appreciation, is looking at the tools of communication, the elements of art, and what it's saying to us, and how we appreciate how the artist used that, whether we quite understand it or not. Right? Okay. All right, now here's a Bumble Bee eye. Is that what we would call this one? That's what it feels like. It's a real close-up view on nature. I'm thinking this is a photograph, right? Maybe it has been digitally altered, I'm not sure.
I think because we've been talking with the homeschoolers about Carl Linnaeus and Audubon, that I think of them when I see this. I love just in looking at this flower, you see the curve of the lines, and you see the variation of the color, how it changes as it comes up here. And look, it even goes into kind of a purple, which it's just a wonderful.
Carl Linnaeus was a scientist from the 18th century who developed a system of taxonomy. So that's our classification system that all the plants and animals are put into now and given scientific names. But he spent his whole life looking really closely at flowers.
Yes.
So yes, he would love this. All right, here's another abstract. So what elements were limited and what elements were used, would you say?
I'd say the color is limited.
Yeah.
So black and white.
There's a lot of texture.
A lot of texture, a lot of shape, but their shapes are irregular, aren't they? Very, very irregular.
And texture is visually how something would feel. If we could touch it, what would it feel like? And so what words would you use to describe the texture?
Well, I would say, I think of these pieces look jagged, sharp, sharp or rough. So.
And again, do you see a landscape? Do you see people? What do you see in the abstract?
Right here, I see a head
and
a body with arms. Like this is a lap. And it looks like the hands are folding.
That's interesting. I feel like it's a landscape that we have a foreground coming through and like a middle ground and definitely a background. But I couldn't tell you if it's a cityscape or, rural. I would... it feels city to me.
This back here looks city, doesn't it?
It does. And then, again, a limited color palette here with just black and white, basically, in both of these. It'd probably be good to talk about value. Some have said that of all the elements of art, can't remember where I heard that. That value is arguably the most important. And that is the lightness and the darkness of color, and you know, which leads to contrast. So yeah, if we didn't have that, we really wouldn't see anything. So this is a very stark contrast, which adds a lot of energy.
A lot of energy. They're just this, I think we're drawn to this line right here. It takes us from where we are up around, right there, up to the top. Up to the top, and that strong contrast of the shadow and then the light shining on the snow there. And I think it's kind of interesting or something we kind of need to remember. This is a photograph, and this is graphite. So it's...
Right, which graphite is lots and lots of layers in time. This is very well done. It's not as easy a medium to work with as you think it would be, because it's pencil, but it's very clean. But it evokes a very quiet mood, I think, because it's a lower value contrast.
Yes, very much.
So I like the light on the face.
And this is seasons.
So then we're automatically thinking, do I see the seasons represented in here? And where do you see it?
So the spring autumn down in here. And up with these colors, with spring up in here.
Dragonfly summer. And then maybe winter. Yeah. We've got the blues and the ices. So the artist communicated that not only through color and contrast, this kind of icy blue, but the lines. Yeah, I think. The spring growth kind of up from the dead leaves. That's cool. The flower with the spirals. And then what direction are the leaves coming? Down.
Flowing down.
Yep. And then the bare leaves of winter. Yeah, bare branches.
The front piece.
What does this remind you of?
Me, myself, and I. So we call this a self-portrait. And this is by a local gal. She did really nice work. I love the colors that she chose. But yeah, this definitely reminds me of Norman Rockwell, great American painter. And he did it's called triple self-portrait. It's neat when somebody does a kind of a take on that. So, is this pastel? Yeah, oil pastel.
Complementary colors, complementary colors of the oranges and the yellows and the deep blues and the purples. Nice contrast.
Checking ourselves out in the mirror here to see that color and balance.
And I think it's against the wavy lines. You know, the lines are so curved and.
Well, they're communicating a lot with the brush strokes here, like in our first piece. The direction they're coming. I don't know if it's leading us in or pulling us out.
And also, I get this sense of speed. I think because of the brush strokes are so prominent and so visible. And because this area is you have a nice fine line here, a distinct line. And then this is more faded. It fades in. To me, it gives this, and she's not going anywhere. You know, she's standing still, but I still get this sense of speed.
Well, she's digging up something with a shovel.
And it's coming out
She's throwing that dirt.
It's so interesting.
Yes. So we call this mixed media because the artist used, well, can you guess? What did the artist use to create this floral?
Our first thought before reading it was, I was thinking of shells.
Yes, there is it kind of glistens in.
Yeah, but if you look at these, down here, it's fish bones. Fish bones.
Yeah, fishbone artwork. And it has that folk art feel because artists have been doing this for centuries, probably for as long as time.
Yes.
since time began.
Yes.
People use what they have
Right.
to arrange
Right.
and
Right.
create something
Right.
beautiful.
Right. And this also, so many of what we've looked at today are two-dimensional. And this is a three-dimensional
Relief
work.
almost, yeah.
Because you can, for most people today understand the three-dimensional. Kids understand 3D. They understand the 3D, that you can reach in, you could reach in and put your hand around it.
Yeah.
It comes out at you. So,
That took some time and thought, didn't it?
yeah, they're just, and to take something, to create something that is not related. We're talking about fish bones, but to create a vase and beautiful flowers and butterflies out of fish bones when they're the two or so.
So what are they
different.
connecting? What element are they connecting? They're connecting shape
and line
and pattern, repetition.
That's true.
To create
Yeah.
new shapes, right,
Yeah.
out of the vase. So, yeah, so when we see connections in different things, you can create something new. Thanks for joining us today as we took this tour of the gallery and had some interesting conversations about art.
And we hope that you enjoyed our discussion of the elements of art and looking at all the varied artworks. And we hope that you will take this this information and maybe this type of questioning out into your daily life so that you can see just the beauty that's around you in everyday life.
Yeah, start seeing color, line, shape, where you want to go, where you want to climb through. And we invite you to come explore this exhibit yourself. Bring a friend. The exhibit is open through October 29th, Monday through Fridays, and we even have some hours on Saturdays as well. So we hope to see you here.